the vast expanses of Amboseli National Park in Kenya, where the golden savanna stretches beneath the watchful gaze of Mount Kilimanjaro, there lived a dedicated wildlife veterinarian named James Wilson. For over 30 years, Dr. Wilson had devoted his life to the protection and care of Africa's magnificent wildlife. Locals called him the Lion Whisperer, not because he tamed these wild creatures, but because he respected their wildness while healing their wounds. His weathered face, etched with lines from years under the African sun, told stories of countless rescues and heartbreaks in his mission to preserve these endangered animals. Among the staff at Amboseli, James was both mentor and legend. Young veterinarians and rangers would gather around campfires to hear his tales. How he'd once spent 3 days tracking an injured elephant through the bush, or the time he'd stood his ground against poachers while protecting a rhino calf. But of all his stories, none captured hearts like the tale of Savanah, a lioness with distinctive amber eyes and an unusual white patch on her left ear. Their story began during the devastating drought of 2005, when James found the young lioness caught in a poacher's wire snare, severely dehydrated and near death. So I remember looking into her eyes, James would tell the younger staff. There was no fear, only a fierce determination to live. For weeks, he nursed the wounded lioness back to health in a special rehabilitation enclosure. The deep gash across her shoulder required multiple surgeries and constant care. During those critical weeks, an unusual bond formed. Savanah would rumble a unique greeting whenever James approached her enclosure. The staff noticed how her eyes would follow him as he moved around, not with predatory intent, but with what seemed like recognition. When the day finally came to release Savanah back into the wild, James drove her to the heart of her pride's territory. As he opened the transport cage, she paused, looking back at him one final time before bounding into the tall grass. Many thought that would be the end of their story. But 3 months later, while James was conducting a routine patrol, something extraordinary happened. He spotted a lioness following his vehicle at a distance. It was Savanah, recognizable by her distinctive white ear patch. She kept a respectful distance but shadowed his vehicle for over an hour before melting back into the savanna. Over the years, these encounters continued. Rangers would report sightings of Savanah near areas where James was working. Sometimes she would appear on ridges overlooking veterinary camps, silently watching before disappearing. The staff began joking that James had a guardian angel with amber eyes and sharp teeth. Time passed, and Savanah became a successful mother, leading her own pride across the northwestern section of the park. Meanwhile, James continued his work despite his advancing age and the counsel of colleagues who suggested he might consider retirement. "The animals don't retire," he would say with a smile. "Why should I?" But privately, he had begun to feel the weight of his years. His joints ached during the long drives across rough terrain, and his reflexes weren't what they once were. In early spring of this year, the park faced an unexpected crisis. A prolonged drought had driven herds and predators alike toward the shrinking water sources. Tensions between local communities and wildlife escalated as desperate animals ventured closer to villages in search of water. Despite warnings about the dangers, James insisted on monitoring a particularly vulnerable lion pride that had been harassed by angry farmers. His assistant, Marcus, accompanied him reluctantly, concerned about the growing hostility in the region. They had just finished documenting the pride's condition when James clutched suddenly at his chest. His face paled as he slumped against the side of the jeep. Marcus immediately radioed for emergency assistance, but they were in a remote section of the park, at least 40 minutes from medical help. As Marcus administered what first aid he could, he noticed movement in the tall grass nearby. His heart raced with fear when he realized they were being approached by a lioness. Grabbing the emergency rifle, he prepared to defend them both, then froze when he recognized the white patch on the lioness's ear. It was Savanah, now older but still regal, moving purposefully toward them. To Marcus's astonishment, she ignored him completely, her focus entirely on James' unconscious form. She circled the vehicle once, making a low rumbling sound unlike anything Marcus had ever heard from a lion. Then she settled into the grass just 15 feet away, her amber eyes fixed on James, as if standing guard. When the medical team finally arrived, they found this extraordinary scene. Marcus attending to James while a wild lioness kept vigil nearby. Despite their best efforts, James never regained consciousness. The heart attack had been massive and immediate. As word spread throughout the park staff, grief enveloped the community. They had lost not just a colleague, but the living embodiment of their conservation mission. Following Kenyan tradition and James' own wishes, it was decided he would be buried in the park he had served so faithfully. The ceremony was scheduled for sunrise the following day, at his favorite spot overlooking the savanna and distant Kilimanjaro. As dawn broke and staff gathered for the ceremony, rangers reported something unprecedented. Lion tracks surrounded the burial site, and a familiar figure could be seen on a nearby ridge. Savanah, somehow aware of what had transpired, had come to the funeral. Throughout the ceremony, she remained visible but distant, her posture alert and watchful. Park director Nala Osborne, her voice breaking with emotion, spoke of James' legacy and his uncanny connection with the animals he had dedicated his life to protecting. When the simple wooden coffin was lowered into the earth, a powerful roar echoed across the savanna. Savanah had risen to her feet, her voice joining the ancient chorus of Africa in what many present would later describe as a final salute to her savior. In the days that followed, park rangers reported that Savanah frequently returned to James' grave, sometimes lying nearby for hours before returning to her pride. The story spread beyond the park's boundaries, touching hearts worldwide as a testament to the profound connections possible between humans and wildlife. Today, a simple stone marker stands at James' resting place, inscribed with words he often spoke. We protect what we love, and we love what we understand. Visitors to the park often report glimpsing a lioness with a white-patched ear near the memorial, a living reminder of an extraordinary friendship. James' legacy lives on in the conservation programs he established and in the hearts of those who continue his work. But perhaps his greatest legacy is Savanah herself. Proof that in a world where conflict between humans and wildlife grows ever more common, understanding and compassion can bridge even the wildest divides.